Well, you're spot on, Trace. And Jimmy Kimmel's return is good news for small businesses all across this nation, as I think the liberals were prepared with their pitchforks to start rioting and looting some of these downtown major cities if we saw this vacation for Jimmy Kimmel continue any longer. I was actually rooting for ABC here. I thought that this was going to be finally their clean opportunity to wash their hands free of Jimmy Kimmel, who has been wasting them millions of dollars for the last decade.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Duke and Dutch Show. Unfortunately, as anybody can tell if they're watching, Duke is not with me at this time. Duke has a life, and I do not. But the show must go on. And so we are talking once again about Mr. Jimmy Kimmel, the darling of the late-night era, which has got liberals into an uproar about his firings. Now, despite what everybody's going to say, I don't think it was exactly the FCC. I don't think it was the comments of Brandon Carr on the Benny Johnson show that got Jimmy Kimmel removed from his spot. One, I think he did say a very insensitive thing about Charlie Kirk by pretty much, trying to say the shooter of Charlie was MAGA, which probably in the current political climate was not something that you should say, and you should not be espousing, just falsehoods at this point. But as we can see from this chart here, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings have not been good for quite a long time. He had a little bit of a spike here in the 13-14 era, and now he is at such an irrelevancy, I would say, that there are people now posting stuff like this onto Twitter. According to Disney, they're bringing back the Jimmy Kimmel show. Now I'm going to make sure my spoon gets more ratings than his show. Well, from the graph I just showed you, where he's only getting about, 129,000 people a night, this post did get more views than the Jimmy Kimmel show. Why didn't I like that? Tiffany Fang also tried the same thing with this nice chili hot dog. Gonna get more views. It got 7 million views. What a surprise. People can post crap on Twitter and it is more relevant and more impressive than Jimmy Kimmel. However, that is not stopping Disney and I guess Bob Iger, the affiliates, ABC, from bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to his show tonight, actually. Or if I get this out tomorrow, then last night. I'm not sure when I'm going to get it out, but Jimmy Kimmel will be returning to the airwaves after his week-long paid vacation. And I'm sure his family is very happy about that, because who would want to spend more time with Jimmy Kimmel? It's got to be agony. So, although this is, I think, terrible news, probably for Disney, and they're going to lose a lot more money, it's great news for his family, because they get a break from him. So, you got to always look at the positives here, folks. But not everybody is so willing to forgive Jimmy Kimmel. From Nick Sorter, major breaking, Sinclair Broadcast Group, who owns 31 ABC stations, just announced they will refuse to broadcast Jimmy Kimmel's show when ABC puts him back on the air. Sinclair has major concerns about the show and won't bring Kimmel back until changes are made, the company said. Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with the news programming, with news programming, sorry. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. Now, I think a lot of this probably could have been corrected, but for what we covered last time, if anyone followed our show last time, Jimmy Kimmel, obviously, he's a very liberal person. He's an axe to grind with Donald Trump specifically. He doesn't seem to like anybody MAGA. He doesn't seem to like anybody on the right. He's really alienated, I would say, half the country from watching it. And then there's like another 48% are completely disinterested and don't think Jimmy Kimmel's funny. I am in both those camps, so I completely agree. But this doesn't really seem to have anything to do with what liberals have been crying about how this is an attack on free speech. No, you have your free speech, and you are totally allowed to give your opinion on anything you want to. This is America, baby. However, you don't need to get paid about $80,000 an episode to do so when, you're not even really that funny. Comedian does a lot of heavy lifting for Jimmy Kimmel, I think. Personal opinion. And now this is getting followed up with Next Star is joining Sinclair, announces they will continue preempting Jimmy Kimmel following his comments on Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I think all of this, like I said, it could have been cleaned up if Jimmy Kimmel had any humility at all. If he came back in any sort of way and be like, you know what, my comments, especially at the point we are at in the country right now, where you should, as all the liberals always say, turn the temperature down, turn the temperature down. All right, well then I think probably everybody should, be doing that. But framing Charlie Kirk's assassin as a far-right MAGA person, when all the facts were out, by the way, is completely insensitive and kind of insane, really. So we're going to see how this is going to go. We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel, following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a crucial time in our national discourse. We stand by the decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. And yeah, they have to do that. They're a major broadcasting company. You've already alienated half the country and now you're enraging people. So, this is something quick from them. Next Star Media Group, Inc. today announced that the company's own and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC television network will continue to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live. Made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. And I'm not going to reread all this because I've already done all this. But just so we know the effect of this, actually, this is about 33% of their stations who are saying we refuse to air Jimmy Kimmel. And maybe that will change tonight. Maybe Jimmy Kimmel will come out there and practice humility and give an apology and say, listen, I was incorrect. I shouldn't have said that. Jimmy Kimmel is not some ignorant YouTuber like myself. And not to say that I can't be wrong either, or anybody can't be wrong, but he has writers, staffers, producers who I'm sure are saying, please, Jimmy, please don't do this. But he's so Trump deranged and he hates the conservatives so much and everything around him is being destroyed as he thinks it is, even though, he's making $80,000 for talking on the air for about an hour and nobody's watching him. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, people on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, they get more viewers in a day than Jimmy Kimmel does. So, but, he's part of that class. He feels very entitled. He's very privileged. And obviously, they say they're responsible for around 200 stations, and about 66 of them with the Next Star and Sinclair stuff are not going to air Jimmy Kimmel anymore. So I think it's a surprising move that they're actually bringing him back. I would not have expected this just because of the public backlash from it. But on the other side of things, we have seen with what's happened with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and how that's played out over the past couple weeks. We've actually seen, the conservative movement, the right wing, the MAGA people, even though I don't think it's just that. I think there's a lot of moderates and a lot of Democrats who are just sane people who don't want people to die. I think that's true as well. But we've seen a lot of people come together. We haven't seen any cities burn. It's not like a 2020 BLM riot where it caused $2 billion in damage or something to that effect across the entire country. What we saw was vigils. What we saw were prayers. What we saw was a very heartfelt memorial for Charlie Kirk. On the other hand, and I played this clip before and I'm going to play it again.
Police say ABC 10's building was targeted in a drive-by shooting yesterday afternoon. 3 bullet holes were seen in the window of the building's lobby. No one was hurt, but people were inside of that building. Thank you for joining us at 6. I'm Cecil Hannibal. We know that Sacramento police arrested the suspect this morning. KCRA3's Denson Cortez is live in the newsroom tonight. Denson, what have you learned?
Yes, Cecil, Sacramento police arresting 64-year-old Anibal Hernandez Santana, who was released on a $200,000 bail earlier today. And authorities finding that
police.
So, why am I bringing this up again? Why do I think it's important that Mr. Anibal Hernandez Santana Why are we talking about this again? Exactly. Well, I want to really kind of demonstrate what I think is the difference between the left and the right. When Charlie Kirk was murdered, martyred, assassinated, it was horrible, but people came together. When Jimmy Kimmel gets a paid week vacation, somebody on the left, a deranged leftist lunatic, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how they feel about Jimmy Kimmel specifically, but I guess they must love him pretty much if they're going to go shoot up a news station. So, listen, maybe there was a behind-the-scenes moment where they had to come to terms, and we're going to see, because Kimmel will be on tonight, and we'll see what he says. We'll see if he apologizes. I'm not going to hold my breath for that, but I'm not going to say he didn't get a stern talking to. On the other hand, though, you have to think, if this show is losing money, and what Brennan Carr said is true, and his ratings are what are being reported, then his show is losing money every single year. Why would it be a good business decision to keep him? And maybe it's just because people are afraid of these left-wing lunatics. Because there is violence that happens constantly in our country. And it's a both sides thing. No. I don't want to hear that anymore. I have a story later on that's going to completely contradict that. But it's not about, like, I didn't see anyone go shoot anyone or anything. Or, people had vigils for Charlie Kirk. And he was assassinated. He got taken away from his wife, his 2 young children. Jimmy Kimmel gets a paid week of vacation, and this is the response. Tell me if you can spot the difference down below. Leave a comment. But that's going to be all for me. It's going to be very interesting. It might be the first time I watch Jimmy Kimmel live. Actually, because I'm actually very interested with the opening monologue, what he's going to say, or if he's going to double down. But we're going to leave it there. Please leave a like, comment down below, share it out to your friends, your enemies, your pets, if they have cell phones. I hear that's becoming a new thing. Maybe it's not, I don't know. And we will, I guess I will. I'm sorry, Duke's not here. I keep forgetting that. Catch you in the next one.